Hey, how's it going, guys? Geektor here from Joystick Junky. It was just yesterday that Nintendo announced that the new Nintendo 3DS will be released on February 13th together with The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D and Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, so I thought you maybe would like to know a little bit more about this upcoming new handheld. First of all, I'll talk a little bit about the differences between the older and the newer generation of the Nintendo 3DS and what you should know if you decide to buy any of them. And then I'm going to show you some of the pre-installed softwares that come with it once you update the handheld. But first of all, let's compare the package you get these handhelds in. Back then I got the German version of the Nintendo 3DS XL, but with the new Nintendo 3DS, I just simply couldn't wait for its release in Europe, so I got the Japanese one. As you can see, the one of the Nintendo 3DS has more of a freaky and colorful design, but that's mainly because it's the only handheld with customizable faceplates. But we'll talk more about that later. So now to come to the more interesting part, let's compare the two handhelds right next to each other. You'll realize some of the differences on spot, but other ones are a little bit tricky to find. No worries, I'm going to show you all of them. So first of all, one of the major hardware improvements is the addition of the second analog stick. Well, almost, because the small button right beneath the A, B, X, Y buttons actually doesn't really move. Still, it does react to all the inputs, so it basically works more like the red pin mouse of old school laptops. Some games take advantage of this new stick, for example Super Smash Bros., Resident Evil Revelations, and Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, and of course the upcoming Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. Unfortunately, Final Fantasy Explorers didn't get any updated support for this new feature at the point I was creating this video. Still, the new analog stick is a really neat addition, which finally frees us from additional hardware extensions like the Circle Pad Pro add-on. Another brand new hardware addition are the two extra shoulder buttons, which sort of missed while playing on the Nintendo 3DS, but will be a perfect way to play shooters or high quality action adventures, like for example the upcoming RPG Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, which is supposed to be released on April 2nd this year. One fine decision from Nintendo was to keep the usage of its charging cable type. Remember when you had to use different plugs to charge your Nintendo DS and then your Nintendo DSi? Well, these problems belong to the past for now. Nintendo also altered the design of its button constellation. Remember the three bulky buttons below the touchscreen of your Nintendo 3DS? Well, Nintendo decided to just keep the home button under the screen. The rest is literally right next to the touch sensitive window. And while talking about the buttons, you already might have realized that the new Nintendo 3DS has colored buttons, just like the ones on the Super Nintendo. Here's the deal though, only the new Nintendo 3DS has its action buttons colored in this style, the new Nintendo 3DS XL doesn't. One small design change is a different location of the microphone and the on-off button. While on the Nintendo 3DS and Nintendo 3DS XL, the button was placed right on the operating surface, on the new Nintendo 3DS it's placed right underneath the blue LED. Nintendo even decided to redesign the holes of its speakers. It doesn't really make a big difference, but you know, with a new handheld comes a new design and changes just have to be made, I guess. One huge difference between the old and the new generation of the Nintendo 3DS is the port where you insert the game. While you used to plug it in at the back of the Nintendo 3DS and Nintendo 3DS XL, you'll be sticking it in at the front of the new Nintendo 3DS and its XL version. At least the earphone jack stayed on the bottom part of the console, but moved slightly to the center, just how it was on the Nintendo 3DS. Now here comes a huge game changer when you're talking about the new Nintendo 3DS. It supports the NFC chip using the Amiibo figurines Nintendo released not so long ago. I'm not really able to show you how they actually interact with the system, only where you'll have to put it. Then again, here comes an exclusive feature only on the new Nintendo 3DS, which makes it special. Next to its XL version. Only the smaller kind will have the changeable faceplates you can separately buy in stores, or maybe even design yourself in future. Who knows? On the other hand, most of the special and limited editions of the new Nintendo 3DS XL versions will have a unique and good-looking design, for example, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D edition or Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. So once you take down the backside of the new Nintendo 3DS's cover plate, you'll reveal the batteries, which will let you play for about 10 hours straight until you have to recharge them, and the changeable memory card. The handheld comes with a 4GB microSD card, so you might want to buy a bigger one if you plan to transfer all of your games from your Nintendo 3DS or Nintendo 3DS XL. And for a fun fact, here's how it looks like when you change your new 3DS's covers with another one. Now before I come to the pre-installed softwares, there are two more changes that came with the new Nintendo 3DS. One is the altered location of the volume adjustment, which is now placed right next to the left-hand side of the upper screen instead of leaving it on the lower side. There's one more thing worth showing you guys for now, and this is the updated 3D version of the new Nintendo 3DS. And yes, you can actually see the difference even while watching this video on YouTube. So I'll just show you how the screens look like when the 3D effects are turned on and off on both the Nintendo 3DS XL and the new Nintendo 3DS. Here comes the last part on the list I'm going to show you guys today, and those are the pre-installed softwares. This is a demonstration video on how great the 3D effect works on the new console, a small app you can make your own animations with, which is really great since the 3D effects come out really well with this one. And I probably don't really have to tell you what this app is supposed to make. Well, this is it for today guys, hope you enjoyed this video and make sure to tune in again next time when I show you some of the most wanted games on the Nintendo 3DS and the new Nintendo 3DS really soon.